Hey guys, you are about to hear an incredible conversation between me and Jeff Davis. Jeff is the founder and director of a really cool organization called Truth in Nature. You're going to love hearing about it and what it's doing and its impact with young men across the country. Very like-minded Christian warrior Jeff is with Men's Alliance. We share a lot of the same mission and passions. So be sure to like, subscribe, share this podcast, and stick with it to the end. You're going to find a really cool call to action if this is something that you're interested in being involved in with Jeff. So stay tuned here for Truth in Nature podcast. So Jeff, brother, welcome to the Men's Alliance podcast.
Man, I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity to share, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Man, it's cool how we got introduced. I was telling my wife this morning, you were having lunch, I think, you correct me where I'm wrong here, you were having lunch with my sister and her husband, connecting with them at their church in Georgia. And you're sharing with them about your ministry, and they were like, "Oh, you should talk to my brother, Dave. You guys are doing similar stuff."
Yeah, man. We've been at their church for my wife and I, gosh, probably close to 20 years now, and it's they've been ministry partners of ours forever, and so it was kind of cool to just get this. We were just sharing with them updates and stuff like that, and it was like a light bulb went off in your sister's head. She was like, "You got to connect with my brother." So yeah, that was cool, man. And then
And
yeah,
that's
I came out of there and
Westridge. Let's plug them. Westridge Church,
absolutely.
just outside of Atlanta, and that's
Hmm.
pastored by my brother-in-law Brian Bloy and my sister Amy.
Yeah. Great church, great people, great heart for the community and just the outreach they do, man. Just a solid ministry partner for Truth in Nature.
Man, that's cool. And yeah, we had my sister Amy on this podcast talking about raising godly men, and
Hmm.
she's certainly done that. She crushed it. Raised two boys who are now men in their 20s, and and they're starting families of their own now. So tell us, first of all, tell us what is Truth in Nature, and what does this ministry do?
Yeah, man. So, Truth in Nature specifically was established and founded to reach fatherless boys. We specifically work with middle and high school age boys that are just growing up in different situations, like, without having a father present in the home. It could be single mom, being raised by an aunt, being raised by grandparents. The situations differ from boy to boy, but it's basically those boys that need a man in their life, that don't have that, positive male role model, that Christian influence from a man. And we use the outdoors. I've got guys that love everything outdoors that work with us, hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, canoeing, kayaking, all the things that a father and son do in the outdoors that these young men necessarily don't get to do. And we use that, God's creation, as our backdrop. To engage with these boys, to walk alongside of them, disciple them, and just share the gospel with them. That's kind of, when you use a fishing analogy, that's kind of our bait to get them to come to the program. They get to go experience all these cool things outdoors, and then we get to just really engage. And you see those walls come down and things when they're in God's creation. So, in a nutshell, that's what we are: an outdoor ministry and mentoring program for fatherless boys.
For fatherless boys. Man, this is so needed. It's so great to hear. It's encouraging to hear about men like you in this country who are doing something about this problem. Everybody sees the problem, right?
Yeah.
It's like everybody sees, the faucet overflowing and the kitchen floor flooding, and everybody's just sitting there watching it. And there's very few men in this country who walked over and pick up a mop and start working on fixing this problem. And and that's what you're doing. And I love how you're doing it. I love how God's put um, nature being a big part of what you do in your heart and mine as well. So that's an instant similarity that I'm sure my sister and brother-in-law saw is there's something about men's ministries that are outdoors.
Hmm. Absolutely.
What was it that that drove you to kind of like how did this model, how did this concept unfold into your mind? How did this come to you? Was it like all at once? Was it piece by piece? Tell us about this process.
Yeah, it's a step, and like anybody else, it's still a process. But we started in 2009, 16 years ago. Long about 2008, I was working a IT professional job in corporate America, and just really felt God calling me to step out and do a little more. My wife and I were involved in different married couples groups, doing different things, but I really wasn't. I didn't feel like using my interest and my talents were to glorify God. And so just really started praying about what that looked like. And I grew up, hunting and fishing and, doing all the stuff, a Southern boy would do. Well, not just Southern boys, but, that men like to do. And, I love that stuff. I love being out in God's creation. And my wife, I married a Pennsylvania girl who grew up trapping with her dad
Wow,
in
a
Johnstown,
trapper,
Pennsylvania. Yeah.
man,
So
that's a catch.
that's it, man. She's awesome. And so she loved the outdoors. We were always camping and stuff together back then. And so I started sharing with her, I said, I think God's, just trying to impress upon me using the outdoors to reach others. I didn't necessarily know it was fatherless boys, but we just started praying about it. We got a group of folks around us, kind of shared with them kind of what we felt God calling us out to do. And that group eventually became our first founding board of directors. And one of the guys said, we're praying through what this outdoor ministry looks like and what God's going to use you for. He said, I'm an umpire at a little league baseball field. He said, I see a ton of boys being brought to that baseball field by their moms or by their
Mm.
grandparents, without a dad present in their life. He said, have you thought about potentially reaching, fatherless youth, and my wife and I kind of looked at each other and it was like the light bulb went off because my wife's father passed away when she was 12, and he was the one guiding her. So she was raised by a single mom. And me and my brothers, as we were, young men getting ready to just really go out into the world, my parents got a divorce, and we experienced that, everything that entails, and we weren't young or still we were young men coming out of, but we still experienced those emotions. So it was like, yeah. I mean, God's given us, certain experience in life and we can use that, for this ministry. And so we decided right then and there it was going to be fatherless boys. We started looking at some of the stats and we're just blown away. I mean, I think the breakdown of the family nucleus is at the root of a lot of what we're experiencing today in society, the issues, and taking, Christ out of it, that the center of the home. And so
Yeah,
we started rolling in 2009 with it and haven't looked back since.
man. Um, yeah, I definitely agree. It's the family is the most important organization on this
Hmm.
planet. It's the first organization. It's the one. It's the unit that God created, and He was like, "This is how it's supposed to be done." Right? Man, wife, kids. This is the model. This is the organization that's gonna, um, you know, maintain this planet. And as that breaks, as we watch the enemy Satan attack the men and break them, and attack the women and break them, and
Right.
attack the kids, and just trying in every way possible, using every tool at his disposal to rip this unit, this organization of the family apart. And then what we've got is your organization, Truth in Nature, is sewing a broken piece back together. It's taken something that's already been damaged, the family unit that's not perfectly intact for whatever reason, doesn't really matter, and offering a solution, offering a remedy. One of the things that I noticed in my coaching mental health career was that children who experienced an adverse childhood experience, right, an ACE, kids with ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, the ones who really defied all those odds, those statistics you're referring to, the ones who defied the statistics, defied the odds, and became incredibly successful and well adjusted emotionally and relationally, every single time without fail, they had a person in their life
That's right.
who filled that role model gap for them. Sometimes it was a grandparent. A lot of times you'll talk to a man who had just like a horrific childhood, broken home, no dad, and you're talking to him and you're thinking this guy's so well adjusted, and you ask him, did you have like an incredible male role model that stepped into that position in your life? Every single time, oh yeah, absolutely, there was this guy, right?
That's
that's
right.
that's the story, whether it was a grandparent or just a neighborhood or a guy in the church. What this speaks to is that when the family breaks, it's not the end of the story. And there's this tremendous opportunity for men, whether through an organization like yours or ours or a church or neighborhood or whatever, to step into that scene and say, you know what, I'm going to step into this young man's life and help him, guide him, mentor him a little bit. It can absolutely change the trajectory of a young man's life by fixing that adverse childhood experience. Can you share with us? You've probably got dozens or hundreds of these examples and stories in your mind. Share with us an example, if you will, of a young man that you've seen benefit, a story from the powerful effect of truth in nature.
Yeah, I mean, and you hit the nail on the head there, man. I mean, when somebody steps in and kind of bridges that gap, you're not only changing this young man's life, you're not only allowing God and the Holy Spirit to work through you to change this young man's life, you're also changing a family tree, right? I mean,
That's right. That's
you
right. That's
know,
powerful. You're changing the future.
yeah, I mean, and so to be able to do that, I mean, in a perfect example, there's this young man named Isaac. He grew up in Oklahoma, and was 14 years old, taking care of his 11-year-old brother. I mean, just mom in and out, working jobs, stuff like that. You can see his testimony out there on our media channel, but very powerful testimony, and how he came from Oklahoma and wound up in Louisiana and got connected with one of our Truth and Nature chapters there, and how the men just and poured into him. He got to experience that relationship. He talks about how he came to know Christ, and how God led him. Well, you fast forward to today. I mean, he graduated our programs years ago, but you fast forward to today. He's married. He's got a great job. He just had his first kid. Great husband.
Mm,
I mean, the kid is just doing awesome. He's not a kid anymore. He's a man.
yeah.
And just so proud of him. And those are the type of results that you see. A lot of times, you look at social media, you look at some of our stuff, and you see, man, that's a bunch of boys and men going out, they're hunting, they're fishing, because we post a lot of that stuff of what we're doing in our programs, archery, clay shooting, firearms, stuff like that. But you miss the point if that's all you see, because if you don't see the
Right.
backstories like Isaac's, and you don't see, you know, because we celebrate all that stuff. A kid gets his first deer, catches his monster catfish or something. We're celebrating that. We're high
Mm,
fiving, chest bumping. It's all good stuff. But when they make a decision for Jesus, and they, we get to, experience that with them, see them be baptized, those type of things. That's why Truth and Nature exists. And then when you see them go on and become successful, like this young man Isaac, I mean, just doing great as a husband, as a father, things that he didn't have necessarily in his life growing up, but now moving forward and being successful and being good. That's the success. That's Truth in Nature, man. I mean, that's what we do, and that's why we do it.
Man, that's awesome. And that's a lot of that's what's the timeline there from when Isaac first came into Truth and Nature to now?
It was probably 4 or 5 years. Oh, you mean
So
to now? So he so
yeah,
he was probably in the program 4 or 5 years, and he's probably been graduated three-ish years, something like that. So I'd say around
okay,
7 years,
okay.
um,
So
you know.
seven-ish years. That is a tremendous amount of fruit to see from the effort that you and the other men, the mentors in this program put in. You think about it, very rarely in life is there any opportunity for us men to do anything that's going to see that much fruit, like a changed life. A guy go from being a troubled teenager to a emotionally successful, relationally successful new husband and father. That's tremendous
Absolutely.
fruit in a relatively short period of time. And I just, I think that's very powerful because those opportunities don't exist that much for anything that we pour our time and energy in our lives into. Some men spend their entire lives on endeavors where they don't see any fruit, and others, we invest maybe decades to see a small thing, or maybe we never even see it in our lifetime. But what your ministry is doing is this is very rewarding, not only for the end result for the Isaacs out there, but this is really rewarding for the men who are
Oh,
working there, the mentors too, right?
yeah, you hear them say all the time, just, I know this is for the boys, but man, this is blessing me, and I've grown so much in my faith just by being a part of it. I mean, and how can you not? I mean, when you're a part of something God and the Holy Spirit's just doing through a ministry, and you can just see it, because it's got nothing to do with me or my wife or a specific leader or anything. It's all about God. It's all about Jesus, and so when you can see them move, and you just, man, you can sit back. How can you not grow in your faith? So yeah, it affects the mentors just as much as it does the boys.
There's some definitely some similarities there where you're like, I know this is supposed to be for the boys, but and our statement like that, the way I feel a lot in Men's Alliance that we talk about is, I know this is supposed to be work, but right, like I know this is supposed to be a job,
Hmm.
but this sure feels like a ton of fun, right? I think we've got some wariness in our culture. Like, are we supposed to be having this much fun? Is life supposed to be this enjoyable? Is it supposed to be this rewarding? Because you've got an IT background. I'm sure you weren't having that much rewarding fun every day with that. And it's like when people, and this is a whole nother topic, right? But when we give up our grip on some of the worldly things that we've been chasing, and we decide to chase a an eternity mission, like investing in young men or whatever that passion may be. When we make that shift, first of all, it's scary,
That's right.
financially scary. But then what we realize is like now real life begins. And we look back. I don't know about you, but I look back on my 20 years in the Air Force, and I'm like, man, that was dull and boring compared to doing Men's
Mhm.
Alliance every day. Because this is an absolute blast. And I think that's because God put this in our hearts. And so as long as you're doing the thing that is not the way God designed your heart, you're never going to experience this kind of joy. Is this something that you is this familiar?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, man, it's almost a mirror image of what happened when, you come out of corporate America and there's yeah, you're right, it's scary. There's some scary worries, anxieties and stuff as you transition out of that. I mean, my story was I was 16-year IT guy, I was a IT manager, tech services manager, blah blah blah, and I started the ministry before I moved out of that, and we just started mentoring some guys locally here in Dallas, Georgia, and we started praying for God to open up a door for my wife to have a part-time job so she could manage all the admin stuff on the background because it started getting legs, and we were, so long story short, that's what we're praying for. In the meantime, they decide they're going to send 30 people's jobs from my IT department over to India and outsource everything, right? So I get laid off. And so we're like, oh crap, what do we
Hmm.
do now? Because how are we going to find a job, run the ministry, all that? Man, through prayer and just seeking God's, path for our lives, it's funny to say, but a layoff was an answer to prayer.
Yeah.
Because I took that
In the
opportunity.
world of story writing, that's
Yeah.
called the inciting incident, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
literally something has to happen. Sometimes it can be good, sometimes it's bad. Something has to happen that
That's
makes
right.
the character move or
That's right.
change or
That's right.
stop or grow. And we would never, as human beings, we would never choose an
Mm-mm.
inciting incident for ourselves because we don't like change,
That's right.
right? And so what you're describing to me, this is how God, the ultimate author and storyteller, this is how he writes a compelling story, and you're the character.
Yeah. I mean, it's even better, man, because I was so nervous. There's no, you said, okay, God, I'm going to follow where I feel you're leading me. And, I'm going to step out. There's no paycheck. There's no benefits package or whatever. I had some severance that, obviously. And so, I'm worried like, okay, what am I going to do at the end of the severance? Having all that, but God, I want to follow what you're doing with what you're telling me to do with this ministry. So we get two weeks out from that severance package ending when I got laid off. 2 weeks out. Had a little savings. Me and my wife are talking, okay, I might have to do something a little part time to make ends meet, pay the bills, that kind of thing, while she's still working, her administrative career. And my boss from the job that laid me off calls me on the phone. She says, "Hey Jeff, we got our performance numbers back from last year. Even you guys that were laid off, y'all helped us achieve those numbers, so we're going to give you the bonus." She said, "And by the way, you were a manager, so you're going to get a 60% bonus." So 2 weeks from my severance ending, I got 60% of my salary from the previous year, showed up in the mail as a
Wow.
check. I deposited it. It took care of us for the rest of the year while God just did his thing. And I said, okay,
Oh
God, you got
man.
my attention now. Yeah. So,
Wow. That
yeah.
is man, I love those kind of stories. And you know what? I grew up hearing men tell those kind of stories in church.
Mm-hmm.
Like missionaries who were out of food,
Mm-hmm.
or they ran an orphanage in another country and they were out of food, and the bread truck breaks down in front of their house or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And you grow up hearing these stories and you're like, man, I wish something like that would happen to me.
That's
I
right.
wish I would could be in a story like that. I've never experienced anything like that. I wish. Here's the thing: you won't be in a story like that until you go out on a limb. You notice the
That's
guy
it.
who's in that story, he's running an orphanage in South America.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
He's not working 40 hours a week at a bank.
That's
And
right.
you didn't experience that story until you were out there on a limb, right? Precariously worried out there on a limb. So I think, men, we have to put ourselves in the position where that story can happen to us.
Yeah,
We all
absolutely.
want that. We all want God to do a big thing in our life, But the thing is, he does it after you take your foot off of first base and start moving, right? And that's the scary part. It's like life is easy when you're standing on first base, right?
Mhm.
And it's easy when you're standing on second base, but it's really scary when you're in between the two and you're running and you don't know what's about to happen. So, you put yourself in this position, your wife being with you on this. Talk about the difference, the impact of her support. What was its level of impact on you and your decision making? How did her support affect your decision?
I mean, it catapulted it. I mean, hands down, if Carrie wasn't a part of this, then I probably wouldn't be I mean, at least supporting me in it. But not only has she supported me in it, I mean, she prays every day. I mean, I love my wife. She prays every day over me and over the ministry and God moving and just for God to direct it and give us wisdom and discernment. I mean, she is just 100% into it. And I mean, she does all of our back end stuff with, the financials, the bookkeeping, all that stuff. I mean, she is such a big part of this ministry. But it just makes it stronger. My wife and I couldn't have kids. We went through the whole infertility thing and could never have kids. And this was before Truth and Nature even existed. And we're thinking, okay, God, you gave us this desire to be mom and dad. Why can we not have kids? And we went through that for about a year. Just, I mean, that's a whole nother part of our story, but just the struggle there, especially with something that your wife really wants that I can't fix as a man, as a husband, and you're sitting there listening to her cry at night, like,
Mm.
why can't I be a mom? Why can't I? And so we're just praying through that, got through that, and realized that this is what God was calling us to do. We got to start working with these boys. I mean, we were the founders, and she was the one making all the meals at the first programs, and all these first boys. Got
Mm.
to call her. That's my second mama. That kind of stuff, and just to see her. In the role God gave her for this ministry, even though it is a boy, man, mentor type relationship, but I think it's important for those boys to see healthy marriages too.
Oh my
And so,
gosh,
and so,
yes.
you know, and so when these guys have wives that want to, come and serve and cook and bring the food and be a part of the program in that way, even though it is just a mentoring, man, for them, the boys to see that it's healthy for the wife to support the man. I mean, it's a really cool deal. But your initial question, yeah, man. I mean, hands down, having my wife involved to that level has just, I mean, it's made the ministry stronger. I mean, no doubt about it.
I'm I'm curious, was there ever a period when this idea, this concept of going out and starting this ministry and God's laying this on your heart, were you ever in a period where you had to sell this idea to your wife? Was she skeptical at the beginning and then you sold it and then she got on board? Or was it just like, boom, I'm all in with you from day one? How did that go?
Yeah. So once I started talking about the outdoors and I started saying, okay, I think I'm going to use the outdoors. I'm going to use hunting and fishing and, that kind of, she's like, you going to put guns in boys' hands and do what now? You going to do what? In ministry, what? And I was like, yeah,
We're going to give all these kids guns and tell them about Jesus. Trust me, it's going to be
yeah.
great.
Yeah. So I was like, no, not necessarily that. I said, there's going to be all kinds of safety stuff around it, and we, and there is, but yeah, no, I did. I had to sell it to her a little bit, and so once she kind of got past that and saw, where God was leading me and what my heart was for it, she was like, okay, I see what you're saying. I'm
I
there.
think that is an important part of the process.
Hmm.
That there's that when I mean if you're listening to this, if you're anything like me, you get all kinds of wild, crazy ideas that you pitch to your wife all the time. My wife, our running joke, man, is like when I say the word, I've got an idea. Like my wife just dies laughing. And we've got this inside joke where I've been saying that for so long, and about 20% of them are good. And
Yeah.
so there's that litmus test period where you throw out this big great idea that God's put on your heart. Well, your wife has to run it through a series of tests in
Hmm.
her mind of like making sure this is this is God ordained, of making sure this is got a noble cause. This isn't like got some. This isn't like. I always thought you were going to say this. Like I could see a wife easily smelling this one out and being like, "Is this just so you can go hunting and fishing more?" Right. This sounds to me like you've taken your favorite things to do, right? So, and that's okay. You can be like, yes, I am going to be doing a lot more hunting and fishing, and these are my favorite things, and that's why God's going to use my passions to make this ministry. So there's nothing wrong with that. Like we can own it.
Hmm.
I really wish God would have put that one more on my heart because yours is much more fun than working out around a fire. I should
Well,
have
I
thought
don't know,
about
man. I
hunting.
mean, I laugh. People laugh and say that all the time. Man, you get to hunt and fish a lot more. And I'm like, actually, now that the ministry's progressed, it's a lot less,
Yeah. I was going to
So
say, you probably got to do a lot more at the beginning.
that's right.
It was probably really
Hmm.
fun at the beginning, and now you've probably promoted yourself out of hunting and
Yeah.
fishing. But
Yeah, those
there's this
valuable.
process where a wife puts us through to make sure
Hmm.
this idea is on the up and up, and it's a good idea, and it's not crazy, and it's not going to get us sued. And they put us through the paces with some of these questions, and that's frustrating, I think, for men because we're like we're so impulsive and our mind's already like 10 steps down the road, and we're like, come on, just get my vision. And they're like, hold on.
Yeah,
But then if we slow down and we realize like God put this woman in my life for a reason, and she's got some good thoughts and some concerns, and these are valid, and I need to think them through and have good answers. And then like once they get it, if you're a man listening to this, here's my thought, and you've got some crazy idea of something that you feel God is calling you to do. First of all, don't try to do it without your wife's approval.
absolutely.
Like like Jeff was just saying, like you're like, oh, it wouldn't have worked without her. She's been absolutely, indispensable to Truth in Nature. Same exact thing with Men's Alliance. I would not be doing Men's Alliance if my wife Carrie didn't love Men's Alliance, and she's all in on it. She wears Men's Alliance shirts probably every day, and she loves it, and she's supportive. And I think that's what fuels men like us. So I think some men, they have a passion, they've got a thing they want to do. And so I would just tell them, first of all, get your wife on board.
That's right.
And if she's not on board, for whatever reason, it doesn't really matter why she's not. If it doesn't matter if you're right or if she's right, if she's not on board, don't try to do it
Right.
because you're going to fail. Your idea will fail, and your marriage will suffer. So I think you and I, we have a similar thing of where we went through that process of selling our wife and answering their hard questions, and they slow us down and they bring us back to reality. But then once they get on board, now you've got a team. Now you've got a husband and wife on a shared mission with a common vision, and now there's no stopping it now.
And
Now there's no stopping your vision, your passion, your ministry that God has brought you to do. So I think that's an important part of this is some men, I've heard this, I bet you have too. They're like, I got this thing I want to do. Now my wife's totally not on board and doesn't want to do it. They're like, red flag, bro. Hey, men, has money gotten in the way of how God can use you? Let me tell you about Tom Love, certified financial planner with the Main Street Group. Tom Love from Tuckahoe Tribe, a.k.a. Doc, can absolutely get you squared away with your finances. My wife and I use Doc to handle our personal finances, and his team is second to none. Tom is a certified financial planner. He's a Dave Ramsey SmartVestor Pro. He's been ranked top 40 under 40. He's been ranked number 2 in Richmond Times Dispatch. He's been featured in the Wall Street Journal. And make sure you mention Men's Alliance whenever you reach out to Doc. He gives Men's Alliance, Tip of the Spear Ministries, a portion of the proceeds when you invest through him. He's a fee-only fiduciary, which means he doesn't make money unless you make money. So check out Tom Love at the Main Street Group.
Absolutely, man. I mean, we have, so the way we're structured is we have chapters just like you guys have. And our chapters are led by what we call our program directors. They're volunteer guys that are the chapter leader. They coordinate all the programs, get the boys, the mentors involved. They're the guy that, facilitates
Yeah.
everything in their community for their chapter. And they do a lot. They do a lot more than just a normal mentor would. But if I hear somebody come to me and say, hey man, if I hear him say, hey, I just want to hunt and fish more, I say, yeah, you probably need to go down the road to another organization, but
There's a
B, if
lot easier ways that you can go do that.
yeah. And
Good
if they come
grief.
to me and they say, yeah, man, I want to do this, my wife's not going to be involved, she's not on board, that kind of thing.
Mm.
But it's something I want to do. I feel God calling me to do. 100% with you, man. That's a red flag because it's going to create it's competing time, right? I mean, they're going to, these guys are volunteering, and so on whatever weekend every month that they're gone, you're competing time with your wife, and if she's not on board, she's not supporting that, So yeah,
And I'll
100%.
just say this too. I'll just take this moment to plug. You mentioned how, you kind of caveat it. I know it's a male ministry for men and boys, but my wife's been hugely influential. Man, that is so the way I think it always is. The wives of Men's Alliance fuel Men's Alliance, right? Like,
Absolutely. Amen, brother.
Men's Alliance is not some sort of boys club. Men's Alliance is a family organization. It's a family run ministry. And, if you look at our directors on our leadership page, my wife, Thor's wife, Sheepdog's wife, Gladiator's wife, Fresh's wife, Focus's wife, Chief's wife. I could just go on and on. Every single man on that page, Coop, Ranger, Warden, every man on that page, Crunch, Big Red. I don't want to miss one as I'm picturing this webpage on my mind. And you're bringing this to my attention too. Every single man in leadership in Men's Alliance, his wife is on board and loves Men's Alliance and is supportive
Absolutely.
of it. And I don't think it works any other way.
Right.
God created wives to be our helpers, to be our help, and it's when the husband and wife are both on board a mission, a ministry, whether you're running Truth in Nature or Men's Alliance or you're missionaries in the jungle, man, that engine ain't going to be firing on all cylinders unless it's the man and the wife on board. So, when I see a guy like you running a life changing, powerful Christian ministry, that already I automatically know your marriage must be doing well, and your wife must love Truth in Nature. It's just not going to work otherwise.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. 100%. You said your saying was, when you go to her and say, I got an idea. Mine is,
Yeah.
is when I go to her and I say, do you think it would be appropriate if, and she said the answer is always no if you start it with that.
Oh, it's not appropriate. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But still, can I do it?
Yeah. Oh man. You just sent my mind on a rabbit trail. I'm thinking of
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
great line from the movie Dodgeball. Necessary, it's not
Mhm.
necessary, but we're gonna do it because we can't. That tension. Your wife wanted to make sure it was safe,
That's right.
right? And so we have to listen to that. And we have to factor it in, but we cannot become beholden to that either, right? That's why the man is the leader. Otherwise, we would all just be at home super safe and not out taking any risk, making any impact. So that's where the team has to work together, and we have to listen to her and take her thoughts and concerns as valid. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of gunshot wounds and injuries and lawsuits, you know.
Oh,
But at the same time, she's got to listen to us a little bit too. Otherwise, there will be no ministry happening. So I love the dichotomy there between the man, the woman, the husband, the wife, the mom, the dad of risk versus safety. At our father son camp out Warrior Night last year, I talked to the dads about you have to take control sometimes from your wife and put your sons in a situation that's not safe. And this like freaks people out. I got some really entertaining hate mail about that. And I was using the biblical example of David, right?
mhm.
So David, before he ever killed Goliath, he was a shepherd out in a field by himself, single handedly fighting lions and bears.
Mhm.
Now, if he had uh, no dad in the home and he had a really safe mom, there would have been no fighting lions and bears, right? You're not doing that. You just stay home and study and do your homework.
Yeah.
And the thing is, in a society like that, if you have a society where the young boys are not allowed the dangerous risk of shepherding and fighting off wild animals, you have a society with no giant killers.
Oh man.
You want a
100%.
culture with no giant slayers? Just keep all the
100%.
boys super safe. And so, dads, we've got to, or mentors, not just dads, but mentors, we've got to be okay with a little risk, a little danger, because really, ultimately, what's our goal here? Is my ultimate goal, and I've raised two boys. My oldest is, grown and gone, and my youngest is turning 18 in a few months. And you have to constantly remind yourself. And actually, my sister Amy was a great help in setting this example. Is our goal to raise an uninjured man, or is our goal to raise a giant slayer?
That's right, man.
And suddenly, when you ask yourself that question, the answer gets really clear. And that's hard as a parent or a mentor because you want to protect your the thing you love, but if you protect it too much, it also it becomes useless. So
Yeah.
your organization, Truth in Nature, I can only imagine the bullseye that the enemy has on your back. Share with us a little bit about what have been some of your hurdles, your obstacles, your setbacks,
Yeah.
because I'm sure you don't go from zero to where you are now with nothing but smooth sailing.
Yeah, I mean, I won't bore you with a bunch of the back end, hurdles as far as, who's going to insure a bunch of, men taking a bunch of
Mm,
boys out shooting and, all that stuff, but yeah, we have to do all of that, all the insurance and all that stuff. But
yeah.
man,
Oh, that's a
I'll tell
huge
you,
part of it, man. That's a dream killer right there.
oh man, it can be, man. I mean, it can
Yeah.
be. It's a, and it's a nightmare, but,
The lawyers will
look,
try to kill your organization.
oh yeah, man. And
Lawyers are
luckily,
worse than moms.
yeah, luckily
They're
Carrie's
going to
here
be
and
like,
she
I'm
deals with
going
that
to have to
insurance.
advise you. I'm going to have to advise you to not do that thing you want to do.
Yeah,
You're like, okay,
exactly,
okay, thanks.
exactly. Here's what I'm going to recommend. Here's but nah, man, I tell you, one of the biggest things we get is social media is our biggest friend sometimes, with
Hmm.
sharing boys' testimonies and, giving updates on the ministry and stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of our storefront, quote unquote, all of our social media
Sure.
platforms. But it can be where the enemy will just try to poke holes in you too, because you'll get, you're opening a new chapter in a new community. And you're running some targeted ads or something on social media that says, "Hey, we want to connect you if you're a Christian outdoorsman. If you are raising a single parent or you're a single parent raising a boy, we want to connect you with our new chapter." And you get people on there, man, talking about anything from, this is one of those pedophile organizations, or, you know what I mean? Just want to
Oh
start
man.
all this discord and
Yeah.
distraction, or want to say, why are you guys, why does, your Christian faith have to be a part of this? And, why are you teaching these boys about this 2,000-year-old myth? And, they want to, and it's like, can't people just scroll by something if they don't agree with it? Can't
Nope.
they just, I mean, it's like, can't people just, we don't charge a dime for any person to be a part of our program. Boys never have, in 16 years, there's no mom ever had to pay anything for our boys to be a part of our programs. And so,
That's awesome.
you're offering a free resource mentoring
Yeah.
program for a boy. So why are you trying to shoot holes in it? But that's the biggest way. Sometimes and a lot of times it'll scare men from getting involved, because they're like, man, if they're getting so
Yes.
much flack out there,
Yeah.
and we try to get them and delete those comments as quickly as possible. But, some people are going to see them,
Yeah.
so. I mean,
Man,
that's a lot of how he's got the bullseye on our back, man. And I mean,
do
there's
you do you
always stuff with dealing with people, I mean, there just is.
do you still read comments?
Not
Have you
much, man.
trained yourself to don't look at them, don't read them?
Yeah, not much. I've got it. There's
Sometimes
a
you can't
guy that's
help it.
been with us. He started our second chapter ever down in Louisiana, Michael Rivers, and that guy does all of our. So he loves the social media world, and he does a great job with it. It's a gift of his, and he filters a lot of that stuff out before I even get to see it. And I've actually taken Facebook and stuff off my phone, so that the only time I can
Yeah.
really log in is on my computer and just share a update from a chapter or something. So.
Men, are you in the market to buy, build, or refinance a home? If so, you got to contact Chris Norwood, call sign Coop. He's with Town Bank Mortgage, and he's been doing this for over 22 years. He's licensed in 16 states, and he can absolutely help you get the house that you need to get. Contact Coop at Town Bank Mortgage. You can contact Coop at 804-439-3206. That's 804-439-3206. Man, thank God for the Michael Rivers of this world,
Huge, yeah, man.
who can do social media. Because like you said, it's our best, kind of our storefront, but it's also the source of some of our biggest pieces of discouragement.
Yep.
People can't believe that other people are not as they are.
Right.
Right. There's some saying, like in a crowd of saints, the thief sees only thieves.
That's
Right.
right.
Because we think everyone around us is as we are. So uh, that's my comment for the people out there that think your organization is full of pedophiles. You wouldn't have even had that thought had you
Exactly.
probably not been a pedophile yourself. Um,
Exactly.
you
That
know, eh,
I had this whole paragraph typed out to this guy one time, and I was like, why would you even go there? Why is your first instinct to even go there when you see an ad wanting to mentor
yeah,
fatherless boys? And I'm like, it's because
yeah.
and I was like, just delete that, go on.
I bet it was awesome, and I bet it was spot on. I
Oh
do a lot
man.
of writing. I do a lot of writing and deleting.
Yeah. Hmm.
Some people wish I would do more deleting, and but no, that's the thing. You know what people think? When they see a group of men working out together in a circle around a fire. Like people come after you thinking, "Oh, what's your attraction to young boys?" We always get hit with, "Is this a white supremacist organization?"
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
a group of we're men, we're standing in a circle, and there's a campfire. There's no way
Hmm.
to not avoid that optic, right?
Right.
Like listen, uh, it's weird to stand in a
Hmm.
square. That might be more satanic looking, and it's cold. We're doing a fire. I'm sorry that, this triggers you.
Yeah.
We can't help it. We're men, probably, well, predominantly white, and we like a campfire. But you're reading into that your own baggage. That's
That's
not
it.
on us. That's on you. And yeah, the discouragement, the setbacks, you got to realize too, um, this is another thing that doesn't happen. Just like the miracles where God provides the money and the food, so too the attacks, they don't come to you when you're standing with both feet safely on first base.
Right.
Right? So once you get moving and once you start making an impact, you can look forward to some great miracles, but you can also some expect some very discouraging attacks. And I know that from my experience, which is not as long as doing ministry as you, the attacks can be very discouraging. And what I've seen is, at least for Men's Alliance, the majority of the attacks we get are actually from Christians or people claiming to be Christians. Turns out the world really doesn't care that much what Men's Alliance is doing. They're kind of agnostic towards us, but a lot of people who claim to be Christians see what we're doing, and man, they try to rip it to shreds because of their assumptions about it or their fear of anything different. I don't know if you've experienced that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, we have. I mean, it's more, they don't, it's kind of like they just don't, like what you said, they don't understand. Like, I mean, they take that, it's the assumptions, and then they take it to, ours is, a lot of our stuff's on the faith-based side of it, when we get
Yeah.
those attacks and stuff. I mean,
Mm.
it's totally, yeah, I do this, but y'all are those Christian people, now. And so,
Hmm.
I don't want to do that. Or there's a lot of, I mean, even on the donation side, people don't, there's people that just say, yeah, I love what you're doing, but I'm not going to donate to something that's, spreading, this, like I said, 2,000-year-old myth, so,
Wow,
you know.
man.
Well, I guess you can go support
Well,
something
you
else because
yeah,
this is God's bill, so He's going to provide what we need when we need it. So
I would say another yeah, that's another big component of this conversation is y God put this mission, Jeff, in your heart, and it's yours to steward. And sometimes this requires you and I having more trust in ourselves than we necessarily feel like we deserve, because you can't change your ministry to please other people
no,
because God didn't put it in their heart. And I've had other men speak this into my life that have helped me see this, right? It's like God put this in your heart and you're the one doing this. And if God puts a ministry in their heart, then they can go do it that way.
that's right.
And that's some real tough love, but
Mhm.
also it should encourage you to keep your foot on the gas, because you're getting the hits, you're getting the setbacks and the discouragement, but those attacks wouldn't come if there weren't a whole bunch of Isaacs in your
That's
in
right.
your wake.
That's right. If you're not
Yeah.
a
All right.
threat to the
Hey,
enemy, he's not going to pay attention to you. You know.
that's
So
right. Yeah, players don't get tackled on the sideline, right?
that's
If you're
right.
getting hit, it's because you're on the field playing.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about the logistics. Guy wants to start one of these. Guy wants to start a chapter of Truth in Nature. I want you to tell us how to do it, but also I want to ask you, if I want to start one of these here, do I have to be good at hunting and fishing? What do I gotta? What's my background got to be? Who can start one of these?
You just gotta enjoy being in the outdoors. We've got chapters that really don't do a whole lot of hunting or anything like that. They more do fishing and kayaking and hiking, those kind of things. I mean, just enjoy being in the outdoors. You don't have to be that great, hunter, fisherman, that kind of thing. A lot of our guys do hunting. It just really takes the personality of that director. A chapter
That's cool.
basically,
That's very cool.
yeah. Yeah, it does. I mean, whatever that director's interest is. I mean, we're not a team sport type ministry, so we're not doing a whole lot of. I mean, they throw the football around in free time and stuff like that, but we do
Yeah.
we do. But yeah, you just got to enjoy being in the outdoors and being out in God's creation and nature. So to start a chapter, basically, we identify a guy in the community, or he hears about us, or whatever. We present to a men's group or whatever, and they think, yeah, I can lead that chapter. I can start it. We have a blueprint, just like I'm sure you do, on how we start a chapter, our own policies, procedures. We're a standalone nonprofit 501c3. We don't partner with a specific church or anything like that. You can read our statement of faith on our website and all that good stuff. But yeah, so that once we identify that guy, he goes through a process and we get the chapter up and running and he becomes the guy. We help though on the back end because we help get boys connected, get mentors connected. A lot of times he has a circle of guys that are going to jump in and help already. We start them off with some seed money to get them going, and then we're here to support them. I mean, everything's kind of done centrally through the main hub of Truth and Nature, which is me, my wife, another guy, Jeff Bell, and a couple other people, Michael Rivers, the social media, all that. So we support them in those ways so that they can do what God's laid on their heart, and that's to reach fatherless boys in His creation. So we don't want them to get
So
bogged
you're
down with.
telling me I don't have to be a great hunter or fisherman, and it's not going to cost me anything
No, no, man, it's not going to cost you a dime. I mean, unless you want to donate money to your chapter and
unless you
use
want
it
to
to,
support.
yeah, unless you just wanted to, unless you want to support it. But no, it's not going to
So if
cost
I've
you
just got a
anything. There's,
passion for this, God's put it on my heart. I like being outdoors. I want to make a difference. I want to see some fruit from my efforts, like in Isaac. All I got to do is go to your website and get this ball rolling.
yeah, go to the website, find my contact information there under start a chapter, and we'll start the conversation. Yeah, we actually give you money to
Man,
start it. We give you seed money to start the chapter. So,
yeah, that is
so
absolutely awesome. And by the way, that's how Men's Alliance does it, right? So it doesn't cost anything to start a tribe. We must
that's
be
right.
onto something here. This must be the right way, right?
It's good
It doesn't
stuff.
cost anything to start a tribe. In fact, we're going to send you supplies. We're going to invest in you, and we're going to pour time, energy. We're going to give you a web page. We're going to give you the tools. We're going to send you the promotional materials, the shirts, the stickers, the flags, the brochures, all this stuff. And we just say, hey, if this winds up changing lives in your area, just consider supporting us monthly,
Hmm.
and we do this pay it forward model where we've got enough tribes that have changed enough lives that they're the ones paying for your supplies now. And we know that in a year, you'll be paying it forward. So I love the way you're doing this. Tell us, what is your website?
It's truth in nature, all spelled out. Truth in. A lot of people just put it in, like truth in nature,
Oh,
but no,
yeah.
it's truthinnature.org. And make sure you do the .org. .com will take you nowhere. So
Okay.
truthinnature.org, and all the information, all of our chapter information, everybody's contact, all that good stuff's there.
Awesome. Truthinnature.org. And a guy can start one of these chapters where you are going to help them set up a mentoring program, outdoors based, Christ centered, to reach young men. Now, here's the other question: how do young men, how do their single moms or whatever, how do they find you? How do you get these young men, these participants into the program?
In a startup chapter, that's where we have to do a lot of the social media ads to get it in, targeted stuff to get it in front of people, so that they see us. We do some press releases and stuff in the local community to advertise for that local chapter, just to get two, three, four boys involved. And then once they are involved, and the chapter starts to kind of grow, like our founding chapter in Dallas, Georgia, it's 16 years old. So people around here kind of know about it. It's kind of word of mouth. But once the chapter kind of gets established, other community resources will hear about it. Other nonprofit organizations that may be serving single moms will hear about it. They'll take information to get it involved. Church youth groups. I mean, there's boys in church youth groups that are fatherless that, can get plugged in, and this can be an additional resource to help them in their journey. And just different avenues, man. I mean, schools sometimes will do it. A lot of times schools shy away from well, if you're Christian, we can't, but that's kind of
Right.
changing a little bit. So,
Yeah, man. Okay, so you said you don't partner with a specific church. Do you have any of your chapters? Are they like directly partnered with a church?
most of the time our directors, their church that they're going to, that's where a lot of the mentors will come through. That may be where they host some of
Gotcha.
their, just meeting, things, at the local church. So,
Okay.
yeah, I guess in a way, those are our partnerships in our local communities that
Gotcha.
each of our directors are connected to.
Okay. Man, that's absolutely incredible. So, um, how many chapters about? How many chapters and
We got
states are you
27
at?
chapters in 14 states. So, you
27
know,
chapters.
hmm
Man, that is awesome. About how, so does each one of these chapters, it's got a director?
correct. Each one has
They've
a
all got
director.
their own director.
hmm
Okay.
hmm
Man, so again, guys, if you like kayaking, fishing, camping, hiking, mountain biking, any of this stuff, and you want to make a difference with fatherless boys, this is your opportunity. This is a ministry for you. And how often, how much time and energy are we talking about here? How often would a chapter do an event? How
Yeah.
much
So
of
a
a time
chapter,
investment is involved?
yeah, a chapter has a program once per month with the big group, so that's either a Friday evening, into Saturday. Our more established chapters will do some overnight stuff. Our newer chapters usually just stick to day only until they're established with a core group and that kind of thing. And that'll be a full Saturday of it. And, and, and so that's the model for the big group, big group meeting every month.
One event per month.
Yeah, one event per month per
Okay.
chapter. And then as the relationships develop, this is the beautiful thing we see happen, that it's just kind of been a God thing throughout this history of truth and nature. As those relationships develop, those boys and mentors, there's smaller group stuff happening in between those big programs. So you'll
Mm-hmm.
have a mentor take two or three boys out every week and grab a burger, catch up on life with them. I mean, it's discipleship 101, right?
Yeah.
And you'll have boys call mentors and say, "Hey, I got a ball game Friday night or Thursday night. Can you come to it?" Those are the ways we see the relationships and where the rubber hits the road. We all get together. It's all group based. We don't do any kind of one to one stuff. It's all group based. We have a one mentor for every three boy ratio. We don't assign mentors with certain boys. We just allow those relationships to kind of happen and God to just
Mm.
kind of orchestrate that. What boys and mentors kind of hit it off, because I think that when it happens like that, you're able to just allow God to move, and then you got similar interest between boys and mentors. So that's it. It's one big program per month, and that's the initial commitment. Just be prepared as you mentor these boys. They're going to become, they're going to get a place in your heart, and they're going to want you to come to a ball game every now and then. You might set up a time to have dinner with two or three of them during the week or something like that. Those relationships will grow.
Man, this is awesome. What's your typical average age range for these young guys?
It's usually 11, 12 years old. Once they graduate fifth grade, once the boys graduate fifth grade, all the way up through 18 years old when they graduate high school. And our
Okay,
mentors,
so
if you're asking about our mentors are anywhere from mid 20s. And we just had he had to step down this year, but he was almost 80 years old. So I
okay,
mean, we've got a
from is there a minimum age to be a chapter director?
Not a chapter director, just a volunteer mentor or director, 21 years old. That's,
21.
due to some firearm laws and stuff like that in some different
Okay.
states. But yeah, 21 years old. And that's kind of an insurance thing too.
And
So yeah, I think our youngest
what's
director's
the
25, 26. So,
okay? What's the minimum age for the kid?
11, 12 years old. Once they graduate fifth
Okay.
grade and are going into sixth
Fifth
grade.
grade. Okay, going into sixth grade. Awesome. And then you guys keep keep them in the program as long as they want up
Yeah, as
until
long as they
18.
want, typically if they come in sixth, seventh, eighth grade, they'll stay a few years with us, month after month. Once they get their license, they start dating, they start playing sports or
Yeah.
get a job.
Yeah.
You know how that rolls, man.
Oh
Attention
yeah, Men's
and
Alliance.
priorities.
We've got a lot of teenagers in Men's Alliance, and
Hmm.
most of them, it seems like are like our minimum age is 13. We say you
Hmm.
got to be 13 um, to join Men's Alliance. So we got a lot of 13, 14, 15 year olds,
Hmm.
and then they start drifting once they start driving. Once they find the car keys and girls, we lose them for a few years, and then they go make a mess of things, and they realize how much they need Men's Alliance again, and they come right back. So
That's exactly what happens. There's been a lot of first drivers and first broken hearts, and then they come back to their Truth and Nature program dragging their tail.
man, that is awesome. Jeff, is there anything else that you would like to say or share that we need to know about Truth and Nature in closing?
I mean, we've hit a lot of stuff, and just if it's something God's laying on your heart, I say, at least have a conversation with me or one of my leadership guys that can tell you more about, just the need. I mean, the most recent statistic was 18.4 million being raised in single parent or fatherless homes in this country. So the need is
Wow.
there. It's there at every town. It doesn't matter how rural or how urban it is. The need is there, and so that's what we're
18
doing
million 18 million young men being raised in a fatherless home.
without a dad, a step, or adoptive father. So
Man,
that was some of the more recent stats I saw.
one of the things I love about this program is it allows men the opportunity to make a huge impact at very little cost. Right? I think a lot of men, we all suffer from an all or nothing mentality.
Right.
And I see this creep into our lives when it comes to exercise. We're all or nothing. Finances and investment and saving, all or nothing, right? And helping fatherless young boys. Well, we're not really in a position to adopt or foster right now.
Right.
It's like, bro, there's a lot of steps you can take to help
Hmm.
people between where you are doing nothing and fostering. And this is one of those. So this helps
Absolutely.
break the all or nothing thing. You're like, man, would I be up for one kayaking trip a month, one
Yeah.
camping trip, one mountain biking trip per month, to just pour a little bit in and invest a little bit in, and you realize, yeah, you know what, I think I can do that. That's not too big of an ask. So, man, I just want to thank you for starting something that not only are you just helping young men, but you're helping grown men because you're giving us an opportunity to do something. You've already paved this path for us. You've already built the website. You've worked with the insurance companies. You've incorporated. You've already done all the hard work. All a man listening to this needs to do is literally just raise his hand and say,
That's it,
"Here
man.
I am,
That's
send
it.
me."
I laugh and I tell guys, I said, this is one of those times you can tell your wife you're going to go fishing more this year. And this is how you're going to go fishing more this year, right? You're gonna jump in, and she
That
can't get
is
on you.
awesome.
So,
That's awesome. You need to create some sort of a brochure some pamphlet for Truth in Nature needs to say how to tell your wife you're going fishing more.
That's it, man. That's it.
Well, Jeff, man, I appreciate you. I'm glad that my sister and brother-in-law put us in contact with each other. It's very encouraging. I know it encourages me to have a conversation with a man who's on a similar mission. Your heart's in the right place. You're changing the world, one mentor, one mentee at a time, and the ripple effect is going to go far beyond your line of sight. Those Isaacs of Truth in Nature are going to change lives, and they're going to change lives, right? The trajectory of a lot of lives has been impacted by you and what you're doing. So, man, listening to this, go check out Truth in Nature. And before you click, I want to start a chapter. Talk to your wife and make sure she's on
That's
board
right.
with you
That's right.
because you're going to
That's
need her
right.
help.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
All right,
appreciate you
man.
too. I appreciate you too, man. And just, very, very, very blessed that we got introduced to each other, and just looking forward to continuing our talks and conversations as we go down this journey together, man.
Absolutely. We'll keep this conversation going. And Truth in Nature, guys, check it out. Click the link in the show notes, and look forward to hearing a conversation, doing an episode with you in the future about the Men's Alliance guys who have gotten involved in Truth in Nature. And I look forward to seeing the overlap here over the years to come.
Amen, brother. Thank you, man.
To find out more about what we're doing and to join us on our mission, go to men'salliancetribe.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a 5-star review.